Yo,
Ah, welcome, 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 welcome. You out
yes,
there?
sir.
Yeah.
Yes,
You out
sir.
there? Back again.
Yes, we
It's
are.
your boys off hiatus.
Yes, it
Don't hate
is.
us. Just off hiatus. It's your boy P. Flanked by the world's greatest, oft imitated, never duplicated. Fresh fire. How you feeling today?
Ah, man, I'm feeling marvelous, man. Can't you smell the playoff football in the air?
Smell it.
Woo.
No, this smells like do or die. Ah,
Somebody got to win. Somebody got to lose.
it's do or die. Do it or go home. Double
Yes, sir.
jeopardy. The buck stops here. This is the Fire Nights
Yes, it
experience. When your boys
does.
is back, we appreciate y'all tuning in. Little playoff special, season recap, superlatives, thoughts, and a little playoff preview. Got a couple games today. When
Yes.
we do anything, man, we like to thank the viewers, man. Thank everybody, man, sticking with us. Anybody that will be watching this, we appreciate it. Um, Straighten out some admin things, man. But work the bugs out a little bit. Uh,
Yeah.
Playoff time is upon us, man. Give me your thoughts on just playoff time in the NFL, man. Just the first thing that comes to mind when you think of playoffs.
Um, I'm not gonna say desperation, but the finality of everything. You know what I'm saying? Every
I
play
would,
is crucial.
I would say
Every
desperation. I think that's appropriate.
Yeah, well, I guess the pressure of it all
You
is a
gotta have a little
lovely thing.
desperation to you. Gotta have a little desperation in there.
Yeah, a little desperation. When there's stakes on the line, it makes things that much funner. And then when you know there is no next week if you lose, if you do know if you get all the way to the end and get the ultimate prize, you will be forever immortalized. So this is the time of the year where the good become great and the great become all time
And the
favorites.
all timers become legendary.
Yes, they
Because you got to
do.
look at it from this perspective. There is some desperation there because you got individuals that could very well be fighting for playoff legacies, fighting for their coaching legacy, their player legacies. You got guys at the end of their career who this could very well be their last shot. So there is some disparity and some desperation there. Absolutely, absolutely. I always think of this, well said, by the way. I always think of this time as uh, the time. I think of this as
Yeah.
you could make your legacy here. This is
Yeah.
where your legacy is made because you have some guys who, whether it could be your first or second year and you get that grace period. But for some guys who've been there, this is their third, fourth, fifth time, it's time to start, cementing your legacy now at this point. Because for
Yeah.
some guys, this is their first shot. Some guys, this is like, you know, your legacy, your career starts to be formed here as far as your legacy. If
Right.
you're a guy that's been here 3 to 4 times, now people are expecting results. And if you're a guy in your career, this could signal sort of, the end of the road for you or a road that keeps going for you. So it's a lot, to me, it's a lot on the line when we talk these playoffs. But before
Yes,
we
it
get to
is.
playoff, we had a very, very exciting regular season that passed us, man. A lot of surprises, um, a lot of constants. We had some big splashes. We had some disappointments. All of the above. All
Yes,
of
we
the
did.
above happened. We had some teams that went from last to first. We had first to last guys. We had some teams that maintained. As far as the season goes, who was your, let's say, the things that stuck out to you the most? Like what did you learn most from this season?
I guess the thing that really most stuck out to me during this season is something that I hold really near and dear to my heart, and that's the running back position.
Ah,
And
ah,
that's my favorite position on the field, man. And it's been taking a beating the last couple of years. I haven't beaten on it, but at the same time, I do know that running backs with the just the sheer volume of running backs that you can pick off of trees. You know what I'm saying? Those type of things kind of devalued the running back position. But this year, the top 3 running back free agents are the top 3 rushers in the NFL. And it is not by coincidence that all 3 of those teams are in the playoffs.
Absolutely. 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 Absolutely.
I would not think that is by coincidence. There is direct correlation between running the ball effectively and winning a bunch of damn games.
Especially in today's league, because it's become such an aerial league. And I think the
Yes.
running back position was devalued by the emphasis on the run. It's almost like in the NBA with the advent of the 3-point shot, how the center position and inside play has been devalued until someone brings it back. So I see a sort of a mirror image of the era of the passing game almost making a running game obsolete. But this year you had guys show, hey, listen, the running game has always been a staple in the league, and it still can be a staple in the league if you value the position. I think I'll say this to piggyback off what you said. I think the real issue was that you mentioned, a lot of guys, people have found a lot of late draft gems, and they started to say, okay, well, we don't have to take the premium picks for a running back. We can get one in the late rounds. And that's worked in multiple years in the past. And you found some late round running backs that have been, extremely productive. And that's been the thought process. But you could never, ever replace that game breaking premium running back. That 15,000, that 1,500-yard bell cow. You know what I mean? That can open up the passing game. I think there's been more of an emphasis on the pass opening up the run, whereas in previous years and seasons and thought processes that the run opens up the pass. I think both can be true, but I think the running back position made a resounding return and statement this year. Shout out to Josh Jacobs. Shout out to Mr. Henry. Shout out to Joe Mixon. Shout out to even the teams doing a running back by committee. You got Detroit doing a running back by committee. Lots of teams in Florida.
Sonic and Knuckles, I want to say they both got a grand on a bando on the ground.
Both got a
young
grand
boy
on
Bucky Irving from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Young budding superstar. Absolutely.
Down.
Budding superstar.
I was glad to see the running back position not get peed on and trounced on, I'm like, nah, man, you got to understand, man, like you said, King Henry, Saquon Barkley, they are not just running backs. They are special. Those guys, and not saying Josh Jacobs isn't special. He may not be the level of special as the 2 guys I just mentioned, but Josh Jacobs is pretty damn good.
J.K. Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins is another one for the Chargers, enabling a young Justin Herbert to really anchor himself in and not have to be, perfect. Shout out to J.K. Dobbins assisting in that offensive turnaround.
Shout out to James Cook up in Buffalo.
Kyron Williams for the Rams. A lot of young running backs, man. A lot of young running backs. And also, Christian McCaffrey always doing his thing. I think he had a bit of the injury bug this year that he's experienced in the past. But let's never forget Christian McCaffrey, although injured. He held it down for a couple of years in between there. So shout out to Christian McCaffrey. But shout out to the entire running back committee, man. But the entire running back position, because I grew up on Eric Dickerson, and Marshall Faulk and O.J. Simpson and them guys, man, and Bo Jackson, where the running back was, that was a superstar position.
Yes, it was.
That was a superstar position at one point. You had guys, man, that were Emmitt Smith and Barry Sanders, electrifying. And I'm glad to see that position has had some of its value restored. One of the things that I've noticed about this year is that the turnaround, right? The turnaround for teams and with rookie quarterbacks and that timeline itself. I don't think all things are created equal. I think that when you have that rookie quarterback, you have to have a couple of other things in place. I think the most important thing, and it's not even the players, that I think people are missing with that. When you have that turnaround, it's not necessarily the players. Number one, I always look at the schedule too. You know, when you have that quote unquote last place schedule, that helps a bit. You know, that does help a bit because they set that up for a reason that way. You benefit from having that last place division schedule. So for that to happen, you have to have a turnaround. That plays a big part in it as well. The second thing that plays a big part in it is the actual coaching, the coaching culture that's set. The right coach in place can have a quick turnaround.
Yes, it can.
Yeah, it can have a quick turnaround. If those two things are in place, then that third component of having that rookie quarterback can flourish.
Yes.
Case in point, you've got Washington with, the last place schedule. You got the coaching, setting that coaching culture and environment, giving him that premium offensive coordinator that they can meld minds to be able to say, I'll take his talents and mold my system around this quarterback. And then you have to have that quarterback. I don't even think the quarterback has to be quote unquote special. I just think that you have to have those other two things in place.
And then the third is more likely. The third scenario is the third component will flourish if the other two are in place. Denver, for example.
Yeah, that was exactly who I was thinking of in my head.
Play schedule. Savvy veteran coach who can be a coach whisperer at times, and a quarterback that has the requisite tools to survive in the NFL. That's in place there. You got Chicago, last place schedule. And with all things being said, this is not a Caleb Williams bashing thing. I think Caleb played well this year. I think if you remove Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, CJ Stroud out the equation, you have more of a traditional rookie season in which we've seen from Caleb Williams. I think those quarterbacks' success has clouded the minds of a lot of individuals on what a quarterback's rookie success can be. But with all things considered, Caleb Williams, I think, did have a very good rookie season. Not a season on par with the other two, but not a bad season. Not a bad season, because he did not have the second component in place, which was the coaching culture in place.
No, he did not.
Absolutely just did not have it. I think another quarterback that you would have seen have a sort of similar success would have been JJ McCarthy at Minnesota. Would this have been the same team? We don't know. But I think the other two components were in place for him to have a successful season. So I think we need to look more towards those things when looking at, hey, can this team make a quick turnaround? There's certain components that need to be in place for that.
Yes, it does. And like you saying, I want to stay right there with Caleb just for a second. And you know how we got some Chicago Bears friends and family. And, we like to jibe them every now and then about how their offense is just now coming into the 2000s. And
you've been a very harsh critic of that organization, period.
But I like to think I'm fair, though. I like to think I'm fair when you look at their team. And it's one particular guy, man. Shout out to the Locks from the Block and that guy, Bags. He is a staunch Bear Down fan. And
I'm still on his list. I think I'm still on his list.
Man, listen, man, so every year he has a lot of optimism, as you should, as a Bears fan. But I always say, man, you have to show me, because this is the Bears. And like a lot of people said that they may have had the best situation, or at least people thought they had the best situation.
That was quoted in several outlets. That was the quote, that this quarterback was set up to have the best situation that people have pretty much ever seen for a quarterback. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because that seems to be lost in discussions now about how terrible the team. No. At the beginning, he was set up in the best situation ever for a quarterback coming in. Proceed.
Yeah. So when you always said to our brother Bags, look, man, I know what it may look like on paper or what you may think it, going to look like once it, comes to fruition. But you guys have been inept on offense for a long time. You have to show me you can get this right before I actually give you the benefit of the doubt of having it right. For
Can
that
we
man
call
Taylor
can
Williams
we
to
call
have over,
Chicago quarterback purgatory?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
and that's one thing I always try to say. Like, look, man, it ain't just the quarterbacks who go there who just kind of flub it up. It's the way your organization keeps flubbing it up over and over and over and over and over. And I'm like, the main thing, which is a small thing, but I think is the biggest thing in football is, for whatever reason, always jump on the quarterbacks. And I always like to say, I feel like you don't need a great quarterback to win,
No,
and win big. But
no.
what you do need, and what they have not had in a long time, is pass protection. You will not go back in your annals and look at a time where Chicago Bears quarterbacks wasn't running for their life. And over and over and over and over and over,
I
like I
shudder to
always
think
say,
if Caleb didn't have the elusive ability that he has, how this season would have turned out for him. I
he'd be
mean,
broken up. He'd be
oh
broken up
my,
somewhere.
he may be physically broken.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Like always, I have a couple pillars, man, that's just strong about football. And the number one tippy top at the top, besides that alien, Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, is a great offensive line. If you have an offensive line, you can do so many things with your football team. It doesn't matter if you have you can have a serviceable quarterback. Uh, Brad Johnson for one. Joe Flacco, some people like to say is serviceable. Uh, these people have won Super Bowls with great offensive lines.
Absolutely. They've had the
And
other things. They've had other things in place so that they didn't have to be perfect. And I
right,
don't want to disrespect this title because it takes on a negative connotation. Game manager. There's nothing wrong with being a game manager. I want to rename that, and I just want to rename that. And I think a better term for that is a very efficient quarterback. I like that term better than game manager because game manager has a negative connotation to it. You know what
you
I
know
mean?
what? It's funny. It's funny you say that because I've always looked at the moniker game manager as foolish. And every quarterback is a game manager. Each and every quarterback is a game
Absolutely.
manager.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Each and every quarterback is a game manager. Now, I would like to go to the flashpoint of Cam Newton trying to put, like you said, the negative connotation on game manager. Game manager means you out there point guard, throwing the ball, checking. You are the one actually managing the games. After I call the play, it's in your hands, quarterback. You are a game manager. Each and every quarterback is a game manager. So when Cam Newton says people like Joe Flacco is a game manager, people like Brad Johnson's are the like, they just game managers. I look at him and say, well, they have just as many, if not more, ways to manage a game than you had, Cameron Newton, because you're trying to put game manager as someone who is lesser than. Does it have the skill? Does it have what you have or done what you've done? And I say, well, look at here. You could not manage the game from the pocket from a throwing perspective like some of these quote unquote game managers you speak of. So if you're talking about game managing, you might have one less tool in your toolbox when it comes to game managing. And like you said, I'm a game changer. Nah, you're trying to put a connotation on somebody who just was running and wasn't doing a whole lot of proficient and efficient passing from the pocket. Or we game changers. Lamar Jackson is a game manager. Cameron Newton is a game manager. Michael Vick was a game manager. Guess what they had, though? They had a fucking tool in their
An
toolbox.
additional, yeah, they had an additional. They had to put it because I don't even want to say an additional. They had more of an ability to use their legs to impact the game than other game managers, quote unquote. So just because you have that ability to do that doesn't not make you a game manager. You're still a game manager. It's not a negative thing. It's not a bad. It just, you know what that means. You know what that means to me. I think that what people sort of lump that in with a quarterback who won't necessarily go out and quote unquote dominate a game. You won't throw for 404 tutties. You more or less will throw at a high efficient level, get it to the guys that need the ball, your other superstars, so to speak. But I think that particular that in itself, every team doesn't call for a quarterback to quote unquote win a game. Some quarterbacks can, some quarterbacks can't. But to call one who can't only a game manager, I think that sends the wrong message because some quarterbacks have different intangibles. Some quarterbacks that can quote unquote go out and win a game, they can also go out and lose you a game as well. They can go out and lose because that same quarterback that can throw for 4 tutties may throw for 3 interceptions in that same game. And you may not win that game, but you can have another quarterback that can go 19 for 22 for 206 yards and 1 touchdown, no interceptions, and win that and be in a blowout in that game.
Those things, man, I say Cam Newton, and I put that on him. When he said people are quarterbacks are game managers and game changers, I think he's a smart guy. So I think he's actually trying to put more respect on his name and people who did, played the game from the quarterback position like him. And you know me, I've always said I love a running quarterback. But I think they have a fatal flaw because they do not have the tool in their toolbox to actually manage a game from the pocket position. I've been saying this about so many of our quarterback talents. And
so let me ask you this. So let me ask you this, because the evolution of the position has quote unquote evolved past the point of saying even that fatal flaw you mentioned. When you look at the more efficient quarterbacks in the league, there's really one dominating the league from the pocket, so to speak, and that's Joe Burrow. The other quarterbacks that we mentioned have put up some of the best QBRs, and they have both dimensions. You've got Jaden Daniels, you've got Lamar Jackson, you've got Josh Allen, you've got, these quarterbacks are not only a threat on the ground, but they are, quote unquote, managing the game from the pocket. Lamar Jackson had, aside from Josh, these quarterbacks have very low interception numbers and some of the better passers in the game. Your pocket quarterback has become it's becoming extinct. Even when you look at the upcoming draft and you look at the better prospects, not even to say that they're better quarterbacks, but the better prospects, you got Cam Ward, you got Jalen Milroe, you got Shedeur Sanders. These are quarterbacks in that mold of the quarterbacks that are successful in the league right now. So that position and the thought process has changed in regards to that position. Now it's almost a requirement that you have some mobility and be able to create plays in sort of an unscripted way when need be, or be able to mask some of your offensive line deficiencies. So yeah, I think, the position is evolving. I get what you're saying, because you've always been, very, 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 very critical of, the mobile quarterback. Even though you've always been a fan, you've been critical because you've wanted to see the evolution. But even you have to admit that the evolution of the mobile quarterback, they are, I think what offensive coordinators are doing, offensive coordinators are now saying, okay, let me mold my offense towards their talents instead of trying to fit this square peg into this round hole and eventually shave off the edges. And no, I'm going to go ahead and get me a square hole so my square peg can fit in the square hole.
Right.
That's what's starting to, and with the advent of it's not going to look the same. It's not going to look like Air Coryell. It's going to look more RPO and more play action sort of thing. It's not going to look the same, but the effect and the numbers are equaling out to the same, because this is a historic season Lamar has put up. This is a historic season Josh has put up. You know what I mean? There's maybe two pocket passers that I could think of, two legitimate pocket passers. Joe Burrow doesn't hurt you with his legs. He's a bit mobile. Joe Burrow is the one that automatically comes to mind. But other than that, Jordan Love, maybe, Jordan Love. But other than
Matthew Stafford.
And Matthew Stafford's on his last leg. Matthew Stafford's on his last leg. He didn't have a stellar season. Solid season, not a stellar season. His best seasons are behind him.
Yeah. Well, let me clear something up about the running quarterback. I actually think there is a movement and a shift at the quarterback position as well.
Can we give it a different name? Can we give it a different name? Can we give it a different name? Can we go dual threat? Can we go dual threat quarterback instead of running? Because running quarterback is a black thing. You know what I mean? That's labeled as black. Dual threat seems more of a moniker that I'm more comfortable with moving forward.
That's fair. Whatever. That's fair.
Well, let's just step into the new millennium. Let's just step into the new, because running quarterback was an 80s thing or a 90s thing. We're in 2025. Let's step into the new millennium.
So the mobile quarterback is a little bit more coming in vogue, because like you're saying, these defenses are getting very, very, very adept at putting pressure on the quarterback. So if you're standing in there like a statue, you're going to get broken up. I definitely understand that and agree with that 100%. What I am saying is, and what I've seen for a long time, and it started with my guy Randall Cunningham, when he got stopped in a playoff game in the second round of the playoffs against the LA Rams. I'd never seen, and the NFL had never seen a defense that stopped a running quarterback such as Randall Cunningham. And ever since then, that's been the blueprint for stopping a dual threat quarterback. You just don't let them out of the pocket. Because if they get out of the pocket, that's their domain. And what I'm saying is, I always say, well, hold on. If they don't let you out of the pocket, hence going to a Michael Vick and the Eagles must rushing him and keeping him in the pocket. Oh, you're not that effective when you can't run the ball, or you can't dot or proficiently identify where you're supposed to go with the ball. If you got to break the play every time and go out of the pocket every time, that's not a good recipe for success for your offense.
Absolutely not. No, absolutely not. No. So that's not even football. That's high school football. Yeah, that's high school football.
And that's what I
totally agree with you.
If your best is breaking the pocket, if your best play is a broken play, I'm like, you can beat some people with a broken play, but you cannot beat everyone with broken play.
Right.
You will reach a ceiling if you cannot deal with a certain proficiency from the pocket. It doesn't matter if you can get out of the pocket and all this kind of stuff.
Shout out to Patrick Mahomes too. Shout out to Patrick Mahomes with his mobility and elusiveness. You got to lump him in there as well, because he may not be high end rushing, but he's definitely extremely elusive and mobile and being able to make plays happen. And when the play breaks down, he can move the pocket, move the launch point, give defenses fits. Not necessarily a super mobile threat, but he is definitely in that lane as far as he can hurt you with his legs. Absolutely. He doesn't do it as much nowadays, but early Patrick Mahomes, as far as a manipulator of defenses, he definitely did it with his legs. Not from a rushing standpoint, but just being elusive in the pocket and just frustrating defensive coordinators, with his ability to just go off script and do some of the things he could do. Right. Moving on. This season, let's go down some superlatives, man. Let's get right down to it. Who is your MVP? Who's your MVP this year?
Oh, well, sticking with the theme of the running backs, my MVP is actually Saquon Barkley. That's my MVP, man. People can say what they want to say about the running back position or about the quarterbacks. You know how I feel about quarterbacks. I'm like, they shouldn't get all excuse me, all the credit. They sure shouldn't get all the blame. But you know, the narratives that are wrapped around quarterbacks is their value to a team is just a little bit more, valuable. I don't believe that at all. I'm giving it to Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley, I do believe, even if they just ran him like a regular running back, he would have destroyed the rushing record. He was taken out of games.
Hmm?
He would have destroyed the rushing record, not just broke the rushing record. Probably one of my favorites, not my favorite running back, Eric Dickerson. Oh man, you hurt me the way you feeling about the record. But I digress.
I think that was taken out of context. Because I'll say this. I agree with Eric Dickerson wholeheartedly. No, I don't want you to. I'm not happy about you breaking my record, but I don't mind. I mean, no, because it's my record. I don't want you to break it. I think people thought like, oh no, I don't want him to break it. No, I don't. No, he just said, hey, they asked him a question. Do you want him to break it? No, it's my record. But if he broke it, like he's not gonna be broken up. You know what I mean? I think that was taken out of context. Shout out to ED, man, one of my favorite backs of all. Top three in my book as far as running backs. I love Eric Dickerson. He was one of the first guys, man. And shout out to Saquon Barkley, like you said. I mean, I already hate the Giants, but I mean, I really, really, on one hand, I saw the fact that, what the Eagles did. And shout out to Howie Roseman because, he just any Infinity Stone out there, he going to go get it. And listen, I'm pissed off that Tyreek Hill's looking for a trade because, of course, everybody wants to play for the Eagles. And I wouldn't be shocked if somehow listen, that's just how, to me, it's almost like the Eagles while Howie Roseman has been there, they have been the fucking Lakers. Or they've just been the destination. I just want to go to the Lakers. But with that being said, I wanted Saquon Barkley to run for 300 yards against the Giants. But it was also a slap in the face of the Giants, the fact that he didn't even have to play against y'all. He played so well that he didn't even have to play against y'all. I'll skip this game. I skipped it. I'm not playing in that cesspool. I'm not playing. I don't even have to play here right now. That's the final smack in the face. I hate the Giants. Shout out to Saquon. He makes it very hard. That's probably the one Eagle that I don't hate. Saquon Barkley, man. I can't hate that guy, man. He's phenomenal. That dude jumped over a guy backwards, man. That is an NFL Films move that you will see. You will be able to tell your grandchildren, yeah, I saw that. I saw that. That is going to be played after we're long gone for NFL Films.
Oh, hell
forever.
Yeah.
Shout out to Saquon Barkley, man. Shout out to him.
Man, I was sitting right here in this very spot, looking at the same television I'm looking at right now. Eagles versus the Jaguars. And I saw that. I said, what the fuck did I just see? You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times I see shit and I was like, okay, well, is this the best I've ever seen? I try to hurry up and compare it in my head. Like the shit I haven't seen. I ain't never seen no shit like that.
There's only one other thing I've seen greater than that, and that was, I forget who it was, man, but son that did the somersault over a nigga and stuck the landing in the end zone. That was about
from the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, that's the only thing I've ever seen. But even that, can you imagine the defender? He'll never live that down. Like that is I put him on a level with the nigga that Vince Carter dunked on that he jumped over in the Olympics. That's that level. That's that level of what the fuck was that? Yeah, that's that level. Shout out to Saquon Barkley, man.
He's the MVP,
I have no problem. I have no problem with anybody thinking he's the MVP. My MVP, however, I went a different direction. When I look at MVP, I think it can be either or. It could be the most outstanding season or the most valuable player, right? And I think it could. I think context should be. I place a lot of context on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, my MVP is Josh Allen. My MVP is
Now I'm
Josh
not
Allen.
mad. I'm not mad.
And,
I'm not mad
and
at
I'll
you
tell
for
you
Josh
why.
Allen.
I'll put some context on this, right? Now, the one negative that I'll say regarding Josh Allen is the fact that he did get beat by Lamar Jackson this
Yeah.
year. They lost to him. But I will say this. I think that Josh Allen is doing more heavy lifting than Lamar Jackson.
That's fair.
Which would lean more towards the most valuable player argument. You know what I mean? Because let's be frank, if you take Josh Allen off the Buffalo Bills, they're picking first in the NFL draft. If you take Lamar Jackson off the
Possibly.
Ravens, I'm not saying that they're not a playoff team, but they're not picking top 10. They still got King Henry there. It was an 1,800-yard rusher. That is
Yeah.
impressive. And you have an 1,800-yard rusher and two of probably Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely, two of the better tight ends in the league. I mean, I gotta deduct some from that. He did give me the video game season though,
True.
but I'll add a little bit more context to this. What was our biggest knock on Josh Allen as far as his play was concerned? Josh Allen was another quarterback. I'm sorry, go ahead. What was the biggest knock?
I'm just gonna say it was pretty it could get reckless at times.
Is Josh Allen still considered reckless right now?
No, he is not. No, he is not.
And I think with the numbers being comparable through the air, I think they both had Heisman moments or MVP moments where like, oh, signature play.
Oh, yeah.
But I just think with context, how far Josh Allen has come along with the culminate it with in this season, I think he's earned the MVP. Putting his team where they were, I think he's earned the MVP because he has had to be at his best more than Lamar Jackson has had to be. Lamar Jackson has not had the lower lows that Josh Allen has had, but I just think Josh Allen's higher highs are bigger. His moments are bigger. And that's just a preference. I think this year has been more outstanding as far as an MVP race as any year because Lamar Jackson could be, Saquon Barkley can be, Josh Allen can be. And I want to give a shout out to somebody. I want to give a shout out to a guy who had a season that we're not even talking about.
Who would this be?
We had a guy just win the wide receiver triple crown and nobody talks about it.
Straight like that. Shout out to the boy Ja'Marr Chase.
That's crazy. He just won the triple crown and we don't say anything about and he won it by a landslide. Like it wasn't even close.
He did.
Shout out to Ja'Marr Chase, man. I'll say this. And this is not anything that he can control, but it is what it is. If not for their porous defense, he and Joe Burrow would be in the discussion, of course. And then you'd have to ask yourself, what do you value more? Because I would take more points away from Joe Burrow for the same argument that I'm taking away for Lamar Jackson is that you've got a triple crown winner. You know what I mean? You got a triple crown winner with you. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and go with Josh Allen. But hey, this is a year where I wouldn't even argue with anybody, to be honest with you, because Saquon Barkley has an extremely valid argument. And if he wins it, shout out to Saquon. But I wouldn't be mad at anybody. I personally think, it's just my opinion. Just my opinion. I think Josh earned it this year. Just me. Defensive player of the year. Who you got? Who you think, in your opinion, is a defensive player of the year?
This one was hard, man. When I started thinking about it, I started going to a lot of the usual suspects, and I kind of just really stayed there. And it wasn't too many. I'm not gonna say standout performances, but there wasn't a dominant defensive performance this year. I will say this: I have always liked what TJ Watt has done in Pittsburgh. So I said, well, let me get that to him. But he's got a couple. I said, well, let me move on to my guy who I love. And I think, well, they just got some bad news in Cleveland as well. I'll probably give it to Myles Garrett. Man. He is, if you look at his stats for a team that sucked, he was awesome. Now, the Defensive Player of the Year, that doesn't really equate to the wins or whatever, like MVP and Offensive Player of the Year and stuff like that. But I think he is the single best defensive football player in the league, and that would be Myles Garrett, and probably either a 1A or 1B, probably be TJ Watt. So that I was like, there aren't any two better football players than them. So I said, let me give the Cleveland Browns something because I like my guy Myles Garrett, but I think he actually is the best defensive player in the league. I would not be mad if you said TJ Watt would as well. Now, let me ask you, who do you think was the Defensive Player of the Year? Yo, but see, so you frozen? Don't even worry about it, bro. You be back in a second. But I'm like, I'm not sure if y'all knew. I'm not even sure how this happened. But are you aware that Deshaun Watson tore his Achilles up?
Yeah. And this is probably the best case scenario for the Browns. I look at this situation like the Giants handled Daniel Jones. Listen, man, you got to walk away. I'm never a believer in well, I'm paying him, I got to play him. No, I don't believe in that at all. I'm not a fan of that at all in any way, shape, or form under any circumstances. No.
Right.
No. Cut your losses, man. Cut your losses, bro. You're paying them anyway, cut your losses because we're trying to win games around here. I made a bad decision. I don't have to stay with that bad decision, bro, just on principle.
Right.
The craziest thing in the world.
You already spent the money. So, I mean, you used to compound it.
You already spent the money.
Yeah, it's spent. You already, and that was the foolish part. They was like, yo, that's why you don't guarantee someone $230 million motherfucking dollars, because this is the shit that they was worrying about and railing against. Like, yo, if we get hurt, we on the books for $230.
Sometimes you hit a grand slam. Sometimes you strike out with the bases loaded and also tear your fucking Achilles while you swinging. It happens, bro. It is what it is, man. Cut your losses. Yeah. I personally think that this is the best thing that could have happened to them, because now you can legitimately just move on, because that guy, listen, you talk about fall off a cliff. He's done.
Yo.
He's done. And they had a solid football team.
Yo, I had to revisit some things about Deshaun Watson and his tenure in Cleveland, man. I said, was it as great as I kind of remembered in hindsight?
You mean in Houston?
1 year. I was like, myself, I said, maybe his career track was more along the Jalen Hurts career track than it was on a Josh Allen career track. And I was like, yeah, there was a time that I was like, yeah, man, Deshaun Watson is top 5 quarterback in the league.
He was there.
Maybe even top 3 that season.
He was there.
Then I had to think, I said, was that just for that one season?
I think it was. And in hindsight, yes, it clearly was. It clearly was. No question about it. It was that one season. That's what it was. It was a mirage. Who did you end up picking for your DPOY?
Myles Garrett.
Okay. I went a different direction. And I know it's going to be an unpopular pick, I think. But I went with a corner, man. I went with Patrick Surtain. I look at that defense, man, and I think that he is the leader and clear heart and soul of that defense. That defense in another year is going to be, I would say, the best defense in the NFL, if they're not now. It is they generate turnovers, they generate pressure, they don't need the blitz. They have a shutdown corner. They have all the requisite components. If any of their edge rushers end up turning into, taking another step, that defense is going to be insane to score on. I mean, that defense is going to be crazy, crazy.
What we
So
used to say in
I'm
the
with
back in
Patrick
the day.
Surtain.
What
I'm
we used to
sorry.
say back in the day, that defense is hopping mad.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go that. I'm gonna go that route. Moving on, we're gonna run this thing a little quicker. Give me your offensive rookie of the year. Who's your offensive rookie of the year?
Come on, man. That's a slam dunk, no brainer. You wearing the gear. He's impressed me all damn year long. Jaden Daniels, man.
Well, it didn't seem to be a slam dunk to a lot of people because you got Brock Bowers, who's not only putting up historic rookie tight end numbers, he put up historic tight end numbers, period. I mean, he's got some of the best numbers for a tight end of all time, not just a rookie. So I mean, those are warranted. I can understand.
True.
I don't agree, but I understand. And then you got the Bo Nix argument. I disagree, but I get it. Because a lot of times, this is what people like to do with Bo Nix. A lot of Bo Nix supporters will say, after the third or fourth game of the season, or they'll put a date on it. Since such and such date, he's been the best quarterback. Well, you got to add those games in too. Like, well, why are we skewing the argument? Like, I don't understand that. I mean, it's obvious who my choice is, but I mean but those are the sorts of things when you see. When you have those supporters will use that argument in terms of just he had more yards, he had more touchdowns. Well, you got to look deeper into to look at just numbers is one thing, and I get that. Yeah, he did, but you got to remember, Jaden Daniels, didn't play an entire game and a half, and multiple games he didn't play in fourth quarters.
Right.
He didn't play in fourth quarters. And not to mention that the disparity in rushing yards and effect on the game and moments is like astronomical.
Right.
This guy's, I mean, he's got multiple, not just rookie of the year, but MVP moments.
Yeah.
Like he's got a moment that will play on NFL films forever.
Yeah.
And he's got multiple game-winning drives. He leads the league in touchdowns in the last minute of games. I could go on, but I personally think it's a no-brainer, but I respect the people who don't. I respect it. Hey, it's not a foregone conclusion, but
that's what I said. I'm like, it's a no-brainer, man. He's like you said, Washington has had quarterback issues for a while. He came in first week, knocked all that out. And like you like to say, man, I don't even care. We got a guy now. They got a guy. Y'all have a guy. You know what I'm saying? And I could say, honestly, not saying y'all was winning because of Jaden Daniels. You feel what I'm saying? Bo Nix, it may not be the reason why they're winning.
They're winning despite his performance, no matter what. They're winning despite his performance. If Bo Nix doesn't play well, Denver still has a chance to win the game.
Right.
If Jaden Daniels doesn't play well,
it can get ugly.
And think about it. You figure he went from 4 wins to 12 wins, a 12-win team. 12 win. No, I'll be fair. I'll say an 11-win team because he came out of the last game because the coach made an executive decision to say, you know what? We're getting ready for the playoffs. Let's go ahead and pull our guy right now in a winnable game.
He started the game, he started the game, so he gets credit for the victory. He started the game.
But we'll look deeper into it, and I'll say his 11 wins. Put it that way. We'll say 11 wins. I'll take the hit for that. But I think that we're talking levels here. One is a good quarterback. One is a budding NFL superstar.
Exactly. So levels to
One's a good quarterback. One has a potential to be very good. We're talking about a guy who's already, a flag bearer for the NFL. This is the type of player we're talking about here.
Yeah,
so,
man.
Hey, Moving on. Moving on. Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Man. The guy Verse.
I agree. I agree. I agree.
From the Rams, man.
I agree. Been stellar. He's been stellar.
Man, that guy be on your ass, man. Yo, it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't a lot of standout performances. Not saying people didn't play good.
Yeah.
It wasn't a lot of like, oh shit, did you see this guy's season? There's a lot of good seasons and not a lot of them kind of stood out.
I think you know what position, rookie position stuck out this year? Cornerback. Rookie corners in the league was a incredibly productive season this year. There were a lot of standout rookie corners. So looking, we'll dive into that on another show, but that position yielded a lot of standout performances and a lot of standout performers for years to come. Absolutely.
Yes,
so question for you. Okay, so moving on. Question. Before we go on to some picks, we've already had Black Monday, literally Black Monday. Got a lot of open positions, a lot of situations. What's the most attractive NFL job to you?
It's tough to say.
And you can put any context on this you want. I'm just saying, what's the most attractive job to you? If you were a head coach, and of course, every head coach that's available, of course, has, different reasons for being available, right. and a lot of context needs to be said on, why certain coaches would be looking for certain jobs. But if you're just a coach, what are you thinking is the most, as an analyst, what do you think is, not even to say if you were a coach, as an analyst, what do you think the most attractive job is? Let's take coach out of the equation. What's the most attractive coaching opening?
I would kind of say, if the Bears weren't the Bears, I would say that would be the most attractive job. But once you get,
wait. But why is that not attractive? Why is that job not attractive? Because it's not an attractive job because
I think the ownership, the McCaskey group, whoever they keep picking, I want to say it's Ryan Pace or Ryan Poles now at the GM. Mm-hmm. He has a problem with finding offensive line talent as well. So it just keeps recycling itself. But to me, it's pretty much a personnel and a like a mantra thing in Chicago. Like, yo, we're tough, we're rough, we're monsters of the midway. Like, yo, that hasn't worked since '85. But you're still grinding that into the ground. I think if they just had a change of perspective from the top, the Bears could really get somewhere. So that's what I'm saying. I think that would be pretty attractive. But with all things being considered, give me the Saints. Give me the
Saints. Saints job? Tell me why you like the Saints.
We indoors. I think they're going to clear the decks. Just blow the whole thing up. They had a fire sale, Marshawn Lynch.
So rabid fan base too.
Which
rabid fan base.
Right, what I'm saying? They've been selling off a lot of people. So there you can go and really put your stamp and your mark on the team, without any sidebars or anything like that. New Orleans is just really, to me, looking for somebody to come in and say, please take over, give us a culture, put us on steady, because we want to get the fuck out of the way. You know what I'm saying? Just put, and I would say New Orleans, but all of them are very attractive for their own reasons. Who you got, bro?
I'll say this. I like the New Orleans job because I like some of the players that they have in place. I like Rashid Shaheed. I like Chris Olave. I like Alvin Kamara if we're going to hold on to him. My only problem with the Saints is I don't know the quarterback. If I'm in a position to get a quarterback, if a quarterback I have in-house is the one for me. So I back off for that reason. You know what I mean? I might back off.
I think they're going to cut Derek Carr. I think they're going to cut him because he wouldn't
take a pay cut. I don't know if Spencer Rattler is my guy. I don't feel comfortable with that. I don't really like that. I do, however, like the New England job. And I'll tell you why. I think that Robert Kraft is just hands off enough for me to feel comfortable. So from that perspective, I think that, you know what I mean? I don't, okay, the dark side to that is, could he be going down Jerry Jones territory where Jerry Jones was in, let's say, 1999? You know what I mean? Because in 1999, you're probably thinking Jerry Jones, like, can't do any wrong. But here we are in 2025, and it's a totally different connotation when it comes to Jerry Jones than it was in 1999, right?
Right.
Is Robert Kraft going down that particular path? I don't know. I don't think he'll take that turn. I don't know. But I do like, in New England, I do like the high draft pick. I like the quarterback there. I like the tradition. Robert Kraft's willingness to get some of that back. I think if I'm a coach, that looks like a very attractive job for me. But I got to be clear with Robert Kraft is saying, hey, I know what you're seeing around the league. I know you see these extremely quick turnarounds, but let's do this the right way. If I'm going to get some time around here, I understand. I want to be competitive first, then I want to win. If I can do both at the same time, that's great. Allow me to be competitive. Allow me to set a competitive nature around here, and whatever happens, happens. Then we'll get some talent, and then we'll win. If he's going to allow me to do that, I like New England. I really do. I don't like the Bears for the same. It's just too much of a terrible history of just not being able. I can say this about the Bears. I've never seen a football team live off of one season more than I've seen the Bears.
Preach, brother, preach.
I don't know the Bears as being anything other than the 85 team, and they're stuck in trying. I don't even know if because they can't recreate that. The fact that they still identify with that is just weird to me. Like, you've wasted quarterback after quarterback, and it's like a weird cycle that they have. They draft a quarterback, then fire the coach, then hire a coach. The coach mismanages the quarterback. Then they draft a quarterback. The coach mismanages that quarterback. Then they fire the coach. They hire another, because coaches want to bring in their guy, and the coach they hire never brings in his guy.
Like, but that ain't my guy. If I had my guy, we could be successful.
And they're stuck on that carousel. So I think they have things in position. I think they need to dive into the offensive line in this draft and this offseason to protect this kid, because I do see some qualities about him that I like. One thing that I don't like about him that they have to correct is, dude, please stop trying to be Superman. It's not your game. It's not your game. You're not that kind of athlete. You have some elusiveness. He has some qualities. He has a lot of Patrick Mahomes in him in terms of his ability to manipulate the pocket and things of that nature. But he does this thing that I hate about quarterbacks. When the pocket sort of collapses, he is very prone to lose yards, because what he does is he likes to retreat through the back of the pocket.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He rarely steps up into the pocket. And the instances where he does, those types of quarterbacks tend to be your real game breakers. He likes to retreat out the back and do a lot of the sandlot stuff, which hurts him. So you got to get a coach in there that can get that out of him. And he does this frequently, man. Like, he'll do this 2 times in the same drive, and next thing you know, it's third and 35. And it's like, kid, yards are at a premium in the league. You got to stop doing. Listen, if you get sacked, it can't be a 12 to 13 to 15 yard sack every time. Right. Are you going to get us a 3-yard sack to keep us in second and 13 or third and 8? Why does every sack have to be a 15-yard sack with you, kid?
Yeah.
And why does every pass have to be a fastball? You're like a relief pitcher with one pitch. He's got arm talent. He's got some ability. But But if they can get those things taken care of and protect him, then they got a gold mine in Chicago.
Yeah.
I really do. But I just don't like that job from the standpoint of if I'm a coach, the people are up ahead of me, on top of me, because I know if this thing goes bad, they're going to be the first to go. And what that's going to do is the new guys that they're going to bring in, I'm not their guy. I'm not their guy. It's happened too frequent in Chicago for me to say I'm comfortable with that. No, I'm not. I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole.
And that's what I was saying. That it seemed very inviting, with the history and of the city and all of that. But it's like, if it wasn't for the ownership and who the ownership keeps picking in management, I'm like, I would go there in a heartbeat. But I'm like, that's the whole reason why you guys has been in quarterback purgatory since '85. Well, even before.
I like Dable. I like Dable in New York. Because I think Dable's gotten Dable is the guy that I think your phrase is, he's getting everything out of this team he can, but you can't handicap him.
Right.
I mean, he's doing a lot with like paper mache and paper clips and paper and pencil shavings. He's doing everything he can. It's just you told the guy that I'm going to take one of the more dynamic players in the league, and I'm going to literally give you a guy that's not very good. I'm choosing that guy. It just wasn't very good. Wasn't very good. And you elected to keep that guy who had enough on film for you to say, all right, I'm done. There was more than enough film.
They kind of, to me, when I look at that, almost every time when something goes bad in a franchise, you can kind of point to where it went bad at. You know what I'm saying? Most of the time, it's personnel.
What up, Mike? Want to check in? What's going on, bro?
Oh, yeah, Mike Knox, man. We're one of the most comprehensive, as you always like to say, wrestling shows in the Wi-Fi universe. But, when you're looking at the Bears and in reference to quarterback and protecting them and all that kind of stuff, it is crazy to me how they just keep running out the same perspective. And I'm like, yo, man, can somebody around here find me somebody that can pass block? We know you can find a middle linebacker. You have had 70 of them.
Some of their quarterbacks got to protect themselves too, man. They seem to get the same type of guy.
Yeah.
Which is weird, but I digress.
Yeah, man. It's weird, man. It's weird, man. But I really want them to understand that offensive lines mean a whole lot more. Sheesh. Because like we said, you can have a serviceable quarterback, but if you got a good offensive line, at least you can run your fucking play.
Yeah. It kind of negates everything you have. And they went the extra mile with putting all of these shiny pieces around this kid. But what they did was they forgot to tell people and they forgot to give them the Carfax and let them know that, hey, man, this is a rebuilt tranny. This is a rebuilt transmission that's in this car. This motor's rebuilt. You got to. They put everything around that kid, and they said, look, man, you just got to make it do what it do as far as the actual performance. Car going up and down. The car cut off on a highway multiple times. It was that turbo motor that they put in the car, but they didn't tell anybody. But that's just me. They may get it right. It just feels good to have a situation where, we finally got it right, and I can talk and so on and so forth.
As you should.
But listen, moving to the present and what's going on right now, man, we got the Texans and the Chargers. We have a very interesting playoff docket, man. I love these games, quite frankly. I think the parity, well, I don't think it's, I would say the league is a little top heavy, but I don't think they're world beaters, to be honest with you. It's top heavy from a records perspective. But as far as separation and ability, I think the Lions can be beat. I think the Chiefs can be beat. I think Minnesota can be beat. I think the Ravens, I think all of the top teams can be beat. They can all be had. They can all be had, so to speak. I think you have favorites, but I think that this season may illustrate that you may see a weird Super Bowl, maybe a weird Super Bowl. But that's just how things play out, man. As far as the Chargers, Texans, who you got today? They're in a game right now, a very highly contested game right now. Who you got?
And these two teams, man, they're pretty similar to me. Houston is pretty banged up, or I would have really took Houston, without any trepidation. But they're banged up on offense, so it's been hard on CJ Stroud. With that being said, man, I still have not put total belief in Justin Herbert. I haven't even brought his name up, you know what I'm saying?
Well, he finally made the playoffs. I mean, he finally showed you he can make the playoffs. I mean, you've been a very big detractor, a Justin Herbert detractor. And I'm going to be honest with you, you even turned me into a Justin Herbert detractor.
Yo, and I don't want to be a detractor. I just was like, he was bestowed a lot of accolades before he done anything. And then
can we say this?
In the playoffs.
Can we have a moment of admission on this? Can we kind of pull some of it back and say, kind of the guy that was pulling the strings was terrible?
Yeah. Two things can be true at once. Brandon Staley was awful. He was awful.
Okay.
But
I said terrible. You said awful. I think awful is even worse.
Yeah. Well, he was awful. I don't think Justin Herbert played as bad as he coached.
Okay.
No.
That was one of the more deplorable coaching jobs in recent years.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. But I look at it this year and they say, Justin Herbert's in the playoffs. Well, Justin Herbert's not in the playoffs. I get it. It's the Chargers in the playoffs. How did they get to the playoffs? Not really by Justin Herbert's arm. Like you said, we were talking about the run game and J.K. Dobbins, who just keeps coming back from knee injury after knee injury after knee injury, giving you 1,000 yards. The defense, Denzel Perryman and Derwin James and Bosa and they've been kind of carrying the day, and I ain't gonna say we all, but a lot of people give a lot of stock to.
He had a solid year.
Their head
he had
coach.
A very solid year. He had a solid year.
Yeah, but a lot of people give a lot of credit to their head coach, which is Jim Harbaugh. So in that equation,
he went away from this. Put it this way: what he said was, "Son, you don't have to win every game for us. I'm going to make sure that we have a game plan in place that doesn't put everything on you." And I applaud Harbaugh for that, because Justin Staley, not only did he put everything on him, he even created situations which put him at an extreme disadvantage in terms of just terrible decision making, terrible play calling. It was just a total failure by Staley.
Yeah, I mean, but when I look at it though, I'm saying, just like in Buffalo, that's why I couldn't give Josh Allen the MVP. But I ain't mad if you do. You ain't got to argue me down. But I was like, their team got better without him throwing the ball a lot. You feel what I'm saying? Like, the Chargers got better without the ball in Justin Herbert's hands. I mean, so that's why I say, yeah, your team got better. I can't necessarily say it was you that was carrying the team or you was the cog that made them better. It seems just the opposite. Take the ball out of his hands, run the ball, rely on defense. What do you know? They're in the playoffs.
Well, let me dovetail off of that. Now, when we were talking about Josh Allen's requisite stats as opposed to everyone else, he has the numbers to support an MVP season. Absolutely. Whereas Justin Herbert, his numbers dipped and his efficiency peaked. Josh Allen had both efficiency peak and a numbers jump. So I just want to make sure we're clear on that. He had a number. His numbers jump off the screen as far as what he did from a statistical standpoint, and his efficiency peak too. So shout out. I don't want it to just be, well, the numbers between him and Lamar Jackson were comparable.
Yeah,
they were comparable. Whereas, I mean, because it's not as if he only threw for 22 touchdowns. I mean, he threw for a large number. He threw for a lot of touchdowns.
Yeah. Nah, I'm just saying, like, when we talking about the most valuable, you feel what I'm saying? And that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, okay.
I'm like, no, I ain't saying you ain't valuable. I'm saying you're pretty damn valuable. You know what I'm saying? No, but the most valuable, I'm like, well, hold on. I mean, it's nothing to sneeze at if you 2 or 3 or 4. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? Like, that ain't nothing to sneeze at. I'm just like, okay, well, them taking the ball out of your hands, that not saying the ball out of your hands, them calling more runs,
Mhm.
you know, gave you less chances to throw the ball. And some would say that's what helped your efficiency. I don't really care. You know what I'm saying? Just get the job done, which he has. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, all right, cool. I'm cool with that. Would I have picked him? Nah, but you do not have to argue me down if you do pick him.
So who you got in this game? Who you got in this game? Chargers,
Oh,
Texans.
I got the Texans.
Got the Texans. Okay.
I got the
I'm,
Texans.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with the I'm gonna go with the Chargers. I'm gonna go with the Chargers in this game. By the slimmest of margins. It's gonna be. It might be a game-winning field goal. I'm gonna go with the Chargers. I think Justin Herbert's talent may have him win this game in terms of, a last drive scenario or a second half performance where he goes on a tear. So I'm gonna go with the Chargers by 1 in this. I think the Chargers win this. The next game is I mean, what more needs to be said? Division rivals. I mean, this is a blood fest. Steelers in Baltimore to face the Ravens. Who you got?
As much as I want to pick the Steelers, I gotta go with the Ravens. I gotta go
Gotta
with
go
the
with the
Ravens,
Ravens.
man.
Tell me why you going with the Ravens.
Well, it's hard for me to I ain't gonna say hard for me to pick. I'm going with them because of Lamar. At the end of the day, he can win you the game. He can win you the game against Pittsburgh, and
He
they
does
do
win you
have
the game.
right.
He
You know
does
what I'm
win
saying?
you
They
the game.
do have King Henry. With that being said, I don't think the Steelers are going to be able to muster up enough points. So it'd be something like 24-10, 24-13.
They're sputtering at the wrong time to me. This Steelers team has looked like more. And once again, Mike Tomlin, the God. No
We will
Mike
have
Tomlin slander.
we will
No Mike
tolerate
Tomlin
no
slander.
Mike Tomlin slander over here.
This is an organization that I think needs to really consider getting Mike Tomlin, an elite quarterback. They seem to be okay with just getting him one of those quote unquote old school game manager. Listen, get that guy an elite quarterback to see what he can do, man. I got the Ravens in this one as well. I think it's a fairly tough game. I do think the Steelers. I don't think it's high scoring. I think it's somewhere along the lines of like a 17-6 game. I just don't think the Steelers put up enough offense, but I think the Ravens outlast them in this game. So give me the Ravens, something like 17-6, something like that. I just don't think the Steelers. I think they're dependent too much on crash out Carl Pickens or George Pickens, Mr. Crash Out himself. I could be wrong. I'd like to be wrong because I do like a little offense with my playoff games. I'm more of a 27-24 kind of guy. That's the kind of range I like. I like a mixture of offense and defense. But we'll see. This one has the smell of a low-scoring affair, unless you get the MVP who just goes crazy. I think the Steelers are extremely tough.
This would be a rock fight.
Absolutely. Let's move on to tomorrow's games. Tomorrow's games are Broncos Bills in the early game tomorrow, 1:00. Who you got? Broncos travel to Buffalo.
Yeah, give me the Bills. Give me the Bills.
Give me the Bills.
I think this might be a little bit too much for our boy Bo. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna have to go in there and be. I'm not really mad at the defense. I think the defense will show up, but you're gonna have to go in there and match Josh Allen. And right now, I'm not sure that you're going to be able to match Josh, or the Denver offense is going to be able to match what Josh Allen and the Buffalo offense is going to put out. So give me Buffalo 30-14.
I think Bo Nix has a stinker. He's had some stinkers this year, which a lot of people would like to forget when making his case for Rookie of the Year. They forget about the stinkers. I think the Bills rock them in this game. To the tune of I'm thinking somewhere along the lines of like 27-14 27-13. I think they rock the Broncos in this one. I think it's going to be even more dominant than the score says. I just think that Buffalo will turn up on them in this game.
Yeah.
Moving on to the next game, we got a very, very interesting one tomorrow at 4:30. The Packers travel to the Link to play the Eagles. Give me some thoughts on that.
Before Jalen Hurts came back to practice, man, I was picking the Packers. I was picking the Packers, bro. And people, oh, you got your opinion. I'm like, look here, dog. That man has been off for a month. He already had, or at least according to AJ Brown, problems with passing. You know what I'm saying? So what made a lot of people think that he was just going to come back throwing darts, this weekend? It was just out of my mind. I was like, he's not even practicing. They're like, oh, man, he's going to be. I'm like, he ain't practiced, though. He's not the sharpest guy anyway. His timing and all that, his vision, all that isn't the best already. I'm like, how does 3 weeks help you? 3 weeks off help you? So, and AJ Brown is banged up. But when I looked at I want to give a shout out to Swank Terrell, our peoples, and he broke it down very, 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 very eloquently. And he was like, "Yeah, man, I get what you're saying. I get where you're going, but the team's better. They've been winning as a team all year. They have a lot more depth."
Yeah.
Right. So I was like, I was looking for a reason not to pick the Packers, and there it is. Swank Terrell gave me one. So I'm going Eagles in a close one. I'm going Eagles in a close one. 28-27. Eagles.
I think more than anything, what you're seeing with this particular Eagles team is this defense has evolved, my friend. This is not the Eagles defense of the past 2 to 3 years. This defense is serious. They have young lions at corners. They have a run swallowing offense wrecking defensive tackle. They've got sideline to sideline linebackers. This defense is complete, my friend. It is complete. They got playmakers all over the field and CJ GJ. The only way that I see this being problematic for the Eagles is if they get off to a very slow start, right? Because the Packers losing Christian Watson are going to have to run the ball, which not saying that they can't. They're going to have to run the ball. If Jordan Love gets in any rhythm with the play action game, it could be problematic, especially because if I'm the Packers from a defensive standpoint, Saquon, I'm sorry, you can't beat me, my friend.
Exactly.
8 in the box. This will be a Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith game. I'm going to make it that. Well, and I say that because I refuse to let Saquon Barkley bludgeon my defense. No way. Not going to happen. Well, 8 in the box, and I take my chances. Jair Alexander and the guys, they're going to have to bring their lunch.
Jair Alexander is hurt. He's out.
I stand corrected.
I didn't know these things.
I'm still not letting Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts with the keepers beat me on it. I just can't. That is a slow death that's going to turn into a 30-point blowout. And you don't want that. Because if you can't contain Saquon Barkley, it opens up everything. And unfortunately, when Saquon Barkley gets going, you're not beating that team, especially if they get going. Give me the Eagles. I don't want this, but give me the Eagles. Not in a blowout fashion, but I think give me the Eagles 24-14.
That's fair.
Eagles going away 24-14. Closing thoughts on that game?
Oh, well, look, a lot of teams have said, yeah, Saquon Barkley ain't going to beat us. Put 8 in the box, and that's when you start getting them long-ass runs. You know what I'm saying? It's about execution, and I really think the Green Bay Packers can actually run a little bit more on the Eagles than a lot of people think. Saquon Barkley had a hell of a game the first time they played, but Jalen Hurts turned the ball over a couple times. The game was close. It came down to the last play of the game.
In the post game. But
So,
health is an issue. The Eagles weren't. I would say this: that Eagles defense is not this Eagles defense. This Eagles defense has matured over the season to the point where it is the better unit between the offense and defense. I'll say. Now,
wow,
Green Bay is not the same team, but they've gotten weaker because some of the components aren't there. Can the wide receiver by committee really bring them through in this situation? Because, I mean, that was their thing anyway, receiver by committee, with Christian Watson being the standout deep threat. Somebody else has to fill that role. If somebody else can fill that role, Green Bay is going to be formidable if that's the case. I don't know if they can do that. We'll see. We'll see. Moving on to the final game of the night, a Sunday night tilt featuring the surprising Commanders traveling to Tampa Bay to play Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers, winning their 4th NFC South division in a row.
Man.
And Baker Mayfield throwing for 40 touchdowns this year, people. 40.
Shout out Baker Mayfield, man.
Thoughts on this game?
Baker Mayfield. They cast him out in different places and say he couldn't get it done. He's like, look, he just put some confidence around me. I can get it done. I can get it done, man. Shout out to Baker. And I guess with that being said, it's tough, man. To me, I think this would be the most closely competitive game of this weekend of the playoffs. I think you guys and the Buccaneers, I think it's going to be and I ain't gonna say a smash up, but I think it's gonna be haymaker after haymaker after haymaker after haymaker. Because I don't see Jaden Daniels, and you're like, nah, I'm going out here and I'm gonna do everything I can do to win a game. Guess who's on the other side? Guess who's thinking the exact same fucking way? Baker Mayfield. I love
with confidence though, because they've beaten us. So it's with confidence. It's we've beaten you guys already.
And that's what I'm saying. But like you said, that wasn't the same Jalen Daniels. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is hey, man, this guy has been dotting up people from the pocket. He's been running. I really only
seen him not the same Buccaneers team either. There's no Chris Godwin. So from the passing perspective, they're a little lesser of a team, but I think the emergence of Bucky Irving has made them even more dynamic from a running perspective. So that two-headed monster that they have in the backfield needs to be paid attention to. So kind of a different game than the game that we experienced the first time playing. Both teams come in a little different. Baker comes in better. I think both teams come in better. So this is going to be a weird game. For Washington, I think the key for Washington offensively, we've got to establish the run. We've got to. If they can't establish the run, it's going to be a difficult game. Not to say that the kid can't win a game, but the path of least resistance is definitely them establishing the run. Brian Robinson hasn't been good as of late at all. I think he's had 3 fumbles in the last 3 to 4 games, so that's definitely an issue to look out for. Chris Rodriguez and Jeremy McNichols have been way more productive than him. They do get Austin Eckler back. They had him back last week, who was always positive. More than anything, I think Austin Eckler is big in the pass protection game. Austin Eckler is incredible in the pass protection game. So that bodes well for them. But if they can't run the ball, it's an extremely difficult game for them. As far as picking the game, if Washington starts early, which I think they will start early because the Buccaneers, I don't know if Todd Bowles is a good idea for Todd Bowles to go blitz happy against Jaden Daniels, which is the MO of Todd Bowles, because it's a totally different quarterback than you played earlier. I think the Bucs have gotten worse as far as pass defense. It could be a bad day for them. You're doing a lot of blitzing. Your defensive backs have their back to the football. They don't know what's going on behind them. A lot of big plays can happen behind you. He's getting better at reading defenses. Give me the Commanders and a thriller in this one, along the lines of 31-27.
Bruh,
31-27.
I echo your same sentiments that it'll be a thriller. I think it'll be a thriller. I think it's going to be back and forth. Like I said, I think it's going to be a lot of haymakers thrown. But in the end, you got to give me the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 37, the Washington Commanders 35. I think it's going to be one of those. But that's what I'm saying. I think it's going to be. The Rally Rag that made an appearance on the show.
Let's go, man.
Let's
go. Let's go. I can go ape shit now. Let's go. Let's get it, man. Let's get it. We back, baby. Let's get it. Let's get it, man.
And like I said, I think this would be the most closely contested game. So I can really, it's like 51-49 how I feel like the Bucks in Washington. Like I really think that this could be a barn burner, dog.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a good one. I'm confident that it's gonna be a good one, man. This will be a great opening weekend, and ultimately, just your knee-jerk reaction. Who do you got in the Super Bowl, and who you got winning? Just your knee-jerk reaction right now.
Off the top of my head, I've been thinking about this for a while. Give me the Detroit Lions in the NFC. Give me the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC.
Got the Chiefs? All right. So, so you're going with them. So you think Patrick Mahomes cannot be beaten?
It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard.
I'm 50% with you. I'm 50% with you, right? I'm going to go with the Detroit Lions as well. I'm going with the Detroit Lions.
Okay.
However, on the other side, I think Mahomes gets clipped this year. I think he gets clipped. I think the stars are aligning. And what would make me happier, and I think that it's lining up for it, and I think the world wants to see it.
What's that?
Buffalo versus Detroit.
Man, you sure the world want to see that?
Yeah.
You sure? I mean, it's definitely looking like it might go that way.
It put it this way. That's my pick, Buffalo, Detroit. But I wouldn't be shocked if it's Detroit, Baltimore.
I wouldn't be shocked if it was Eagles, Baltimore. I wouldn't be shocked if it was Eagles, Buffalo. I wouldn't be shocked if it was Detroit, Buffalo. I wouldn't be shocked.
I'd be sick if it was Eagles, anybody.
Huh?
I'd be sick if it was Eagles, anybody.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want that. Let's not talk about that. Let's not talk about that. But there is a scenario where they could make it. I think there is a scenario because let's think about it like this. Let's say the Vikings win on Monday night versus the Rams, right? And by the way, who you got in that game on Monday night? Vikings, Rams.
Oh, give me the Vikings.
Okay, I'm gonna go Vikings, but I'm gonna say, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna go. And this is why I'm gonna go Vikings, because I think the Rams have an unfortunate situation having the game moved to Arizona. They were already at a disadvantage playing in LA where they don't really have a home field advantage.
Right.
But having a game moved to Arizona totally takes that away. And I think that Minnesota defense comes in and they stymie them. I think they stymie them. Yeah. And this is the scenario that I think will prove very, very weird. Vikings-Lions, if the Vikings win Monday night. Vikings-Lions in the next round. As much as it looks like the Lions will win that game, I would not be shocked if the Vikings go up to Detroit and beat them. Then the Vikings get the home game against the Eagles after the Eagles having won their playoff game, their second round playoff game, and knocking the Vikings off in Minnesota. That can happen. Yeah. That can happen.
Yes, it can.
That can happen. Some interesting matchups. Yes, but with that being said, my ultimate pick, I got Detroit, Buffalo. Detroit, Buffalo. That's where I'm going. Detroit, Buffalo. And here's the perk of that. I don't know any Detroit fans, and I don't know any Buffalo fans.
So you can watch the game and not worry about anybody gloating, anybody like, yeah, my team wins. Like, nope, nobody I know who's team
won.
You
talk about an enjoyable game. You gotta love it. You gotta love it. You gotta love it. You gotta love it, man. But with that being said, man, any closing thoughts, man, on the season, the playoffs period?
Man, you know this is the time of the year, man. Like I said, you can smell it in the air, man. The tundra starts freezing over that much more in Lambeau. And I ain't mad at Washington, man. I ain't mad at where y'all been this year, man. There's been a lot of good things to point to in Washington,
And we
man.
going back
Great
to
things.
DC too, baby. We going
Yeah,
back to RFK.
I ain't mad at that, man. But one thing that really kind of stuck out to me about the season was really just putting the respect back on the name of the running backs, man.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. That, and also I'll tell you this too. This was another thing that stuck out to me, putting the respect on, certain first round quarterbacks. This was a resurgent year for certain first round quarterbacks that the league had given up on. Also, I'll give you, and I'll close it with this. Shout out to my guy, Bryce Young, man. Nobody I was rooting for in the season, aside from, my own personal interests,
Mm.
you know, but that kid
Right.
in Carolina, man. Oh my, listen, that kid's gone through a lot. And to see and watch some of those games that he played in, got his swagger back. Listen, he showed an ability, an escapability that he hadn't showed previously. He showed an ability to lead that he hasn't showed. And despite the size, we saw that arm talent. It's there. It's there. Shout out to Bryce Young, man. Way to claim your name back. Way to claim your name back in this.
Yeah.
Because they had, listen, with all things being said, he had the bus name attached to him already.
Dog. With him being the first overall pick, and as bad as it was looking in Carolina, there was no way he could escape those monikers, even though I thought they wasn't warranted, because I'm like, that's another team that kind of doesn't get football. You know what I'm saying? Like, offensive linemen really matter. And when the heat stopped coming to his ass like it was, he showed you he was a more than capable quarterback. So shout out to Bryce Young in that perspective. And I just
the season strong. I mean, strong. And wasn't Xavier Legette dropped from winning the game on the road? I mean, this kid just dropped. This is your first round pick that literally just dropped the football, a touchdown. He just dropped the touchdown.
The Eagles.
Shout out to Bryce Young, man. Shout out to Bryce Young. Shout out to Bryce Young. I can't listen. Yeah, I'm putting it on record. I'm a fan of that kid just from what he's been through. And I think that we all need to look at the quarterback position and not necessarily we got to look at a lot of things around these guys, man. Like a lot of these guys, like they're not number one quarterbacks for a reason. I mean, sometimes your people are wrong. You hype up the wrong guy, i.e. like a Zach Wilson. That guy, I don't think he ever should have had that kind of grade on him. But we got to start looking, these guys that we know or can't miss guys, we got to start looking at some of the things around them as a reason for their failure. Because you can break a quarterback, man. You can break some of these organizations and situations can break a quarterback.
Yes, you can. Now, we've seen a few of them broken up. Shout out to Derek Carr in Houston. I mean, David Carr in Houston. Oh, my God. Woo! I think he's still getting sacked. Oh! He just got sacked.
Derek Carr's got 2 seasons of being sacked, the most of any quarterback. How do you have 2 seasons of being sacked? That's crazy. But listen, I digress, man. It was great getting back with you guys. We appreciate the time. We appreciate rocking out with y'all. Playoff time. Grab your snacks, grab your popcorn, grab your drinks, grab your alcoholic beverages. Me, I personally, I'm not on. I won't be having any of that. I'm on a fast/detox right now, so I'll be partaking in none of that. But to each his own. Enjoy yourself this weekend. We got a crazy slate of football games. The season, man, a fast season, man. Wow, down pretty quick. It was long for me because every week I'm in a barn burner and I'm enjoying it. I'm in every game. I'm loving it.
Oh, shit. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second, bro.
Yeah, the resurgence for my guys, man. I absolutely loved it. Actually going down to see a game, getting a whiff of the atmosphere. The culture is back. The fan base is back. Some respect, a little more respect is on the name, regardless of how you feel about the name. Nobody complained about the jerseys anymore. Nobody complained about the name. There was no more scandals, no outside noise, no non-football noise. All on the field positivity, straight positivity is what we got. That's what I was most happy about, and it showed that the reason for the ineptitude was one guy. It could all be attributed to one guy, and his name was Dan Snyder. Because as soon as he left office, boom, boom, the mojo is back. And I'll say this in closing: for all of those teams that overran the stadium and it was easy to get tickets, them days are over with. Glad you had fun with it. Them days are over with. That is the hottest ticket in town. The waiting list is back. There will be no more overrunning the stadium with other teams' fans. There is no more laughing stock. The respect is put back on the name, baby. Left hand up. Who are we? Any closing thoughts, bro?
Man, I can't wait, man. I'm looking at this game, man. CJ Stroud and them, man. I think he just committed intentional grounding in the end zone. That would be a safety. So my pick ain't looking good right now. But I love it, man. I love it.
Grounding. That's definitely intentional grounding.
Talking football. Are we coming back tomorrow for the people, or?
Yeah, man. If we can find the time, absolutely, man. Why not? Why not? Getting grounding back into form, doing what we normally do. Wow, they didn't call that intentional grounding. That's insane.
Right.
That's a terrible call. That's a terrible call. But hey, it is what it is. But listen, man, the Fire and Ice Experience, man. It's your boy P. Fresh Fire, man. Love y'all. Appreciate it. One love. Play the music fresh. Get us out of here.